जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना। यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना। यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना। यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम राम। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Hare
Hare Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Jaya Radha Krishna Chandra Radhe Jaya Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga
Jaya Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga
Jaya Prahlad Nrsimha Jaya Prahlad Nrsimha Prahlad Nrsimha Jaya Prahlad Nrsimha
Jaya Prahlad Nrsimha Jaya Prahlad Prahlad Nrsimha Jaya Prahlad
Nrsimha Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya
Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtottara Shri His Divine Grace Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Shayamudiraye Nashtaprayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatittama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naisiki. Reading from third canto, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter number 16, text number 15. Te yoga Maya Radha te yoga mayayarabdha te yoga mayayarabdha parameshtya mahodayan parameshtya mahodayam parameshtya mahodayam prochuhu pranjalayo vipraha prochuhu pranjalayo vipraha prochuhu pranjalayo vipraha prahrishtaha क्षुभिता त्वचः प्रहृष्टाः क्षुभितः त्वचः प्रहृष्टः क्षुभितत्वचः ते योगमाययारब्धा पारमेष्ट्या महोदयम् प्रोचुः प्राञ्जलयो विप्राः प्रहृष्टाः क्षुभितत्वचः ते योगमाययारब्धा पारमेष्ट्या महोदयम् प्रोचुः प्राञ्जलयो विप्राः प्रहृष्टाः क्षुभितत्वचः ते योगमाययारब्धा पारमेष्ट्या महोदयम् प्रोचुः प्राञ्जलयो विप्राः प्रहृष्टाः क्षुभितत्वचः ते योगमाययारब्धा पारमेष्ट्या महोदयम् प्रोचुः प्राञ्जलयो प्रहृष्टाः क्षुभितत्वचः ते योगमाययारब्धा पारमेष्ट्या महोदयम् प्रोचुः प्राञ्जलयो विप्राः प्रहृष्टाः क्षुभितत्वचः ते योगमाययारब्धा पारमेष्ट्या महोदयम् प्रोचुः प्राञ्जलयो विप्राः प्रहृष्टाः क्षुभितत्वचः. Word meaning. Te, those, yogamaya, through his internal potency, arabdha, had been revealed, parameshtya, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahaudayam, multi-glories, Prochuhu, spoke, Pranjalayaha, with folded hands, Vipraha, the four Brahmanas, Prahrishthaha, extremely delighted, Shubhita, Shubhitatvachaha, hair standing on hand. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation: the four Brahmana sages were nevertheless extremely delighted to behold him, and they experienced a thrill throughout their bodies. They then spoke as follows to the Lord, who had revealed the multi-glories of the Supreme Personality through his internal potency, Yogamaya. Translation with repetition. The four Brahmana sages were nevertheless extremely delighted to behold him, and they experienced a thrill throughout their bodies. They then spoke as follows to the Lord, who had revealed the multi-glories of the Supreme Personality through his internal potency, Yogamaya. Purport. The sages were almost too puzzled to speak before the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the first time, and the hairs of their bodies stood erect due to their extreme joy. The highest opulence in the material world is called Parameshtya, the opulence of Brahma. But the material opulence of Brahma, who lives on the topmost planet within this material world, cannot compare to the opulence of the Supreme Lord, because the transcendental opulence in the spiritual world is caused by Yogamaya, whereas the opulence in the material world is caused by Mahamaya. This is the Bhakti-vedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshulmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnubhadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshadarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. The shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, the chapter Jaya and Vijaya cursed by the sages. The four Kumaras, four sages, were traveling all over, finally entered the Vaikuntha planet. In the seventh gate, the two doorkeepers stopped them, and the sages become agitated. Out of anger, they cursed the gatekeepers, Jaya and Vijaya. And this is going on. The Lord himself, with his eternal consort, Lakshmi, arrived the place. And as the Lord, the four sages, they have the darshan of the Supreme Lord, and they are very much satisfied, they glorified the Supreme Lord. After the glorification, the Lord is congratulate the sages, and Lord starts speaking, and Lord say, because these two doorkeepers are stopped you to enter the Vaikuntha planet, so definitely, as you are qualified sages, they should not stop. They stopped. For that, they deserve to undergo a punishment. So then Lord is requested the sages, they resolve to undergo the punishment. As I am the master of this, so when a servant makes a mistake, master was held responsible. So Lord took the responsibility. So it is my mistake because my servants are insulted, you people. So he requested the four sages. They deserve to undergo a punishment, but I beg you forgive them, so that whatever punishment they have to undergo, it should not be for long time. After the punishment, they should return back to my abode again. And after that, Lord is immensely glorifies devotees. After the glorifying the devotees, these sages are very much pacified. And further, Brahma say, the Lord is thus spoke in that way, and the sages not able to understand the Lord is favoring us or not favoring. So here Brahma continue, even though sages had been bitten by the serpent of anger, their souls were not saturated with the hearing the Lord's lovely and illuminating speech, which was like a series of Vedic hymns. The Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend because of its momentous import and its most profound significance. The sages heard it with wide open ears and pondered it as well. But although hearing, they could not understand what he is intended to do. This was Brahma say, though sages not able to understand what really Lord intended to do. So, further Brahma is speaking. The four Brahmana sages were nevertheless extremely delighted to behold him, and they experienced a thrill throughout their body. Then they spoke as follows to the Lord. So even though they are not able to understand what the Lord intended to do, but they are extremely delighted, they are very happy, very much satisfied. And with the folded hand they speak. So the Prabhupada writes in the purport, the sages were almost puzzled. Shri Radha Krishna Chandra Guru. The sages were almost too puzzled to speak before the Supreme Personality Godhead for the first time, and hairs of their body stood erect due to their extreme joy. The highest opulence in this material world is called Parameshtya, the opulence of Brahma. But that material opulence of Brahma, who lives on the topmost planet within this material world, cannot compare the opulence of the Supreme Lord because of the transcendental opulence in the spiritual world is because of Yogamaya, whereas the opulence of the material world is because of the caused by the Mahamaya. So the sages are revealed the opulence of the Supreme Lord. Thus Lord has spoke these things. So here the Prabhupada is telling the opulence of the Supreme Lord is much, much superior to the opulence of this material world. The material world of opulence, the highest opulence is the opulence of the Brahma Loka, where Brahma reside. And Lord's abode is much, much superior opulence than the Brahma Loka. In the previous chapter, Brahma is glorifying, or it's a Vaikuntha planet, the description of kingdom of God, where Brahma explains in the Vaikuntha planet, all the residents are similar in the form of Supreme Lord. they all engage in devotion service to the Lord without desire for sense gratification. In the Vaikuntha planet, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is original person and who can be understood through the Vedic literature, is full of uncontamination mode of goodness, with no place for fashion and ignorance. In the material world, there is a mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. In the spiritual world, it is free from even the goodness, full of uncontaminated mode of goodness. So here Prabhupada is telling, the material world is under the control of Mahamaya. The spiritual world is under control of Yogamaya. So the opulence of the spiritual world is much, much superior, because there is no self-glorification. There is no sense gratification. Every resident of the Vaikuntha planet are engaged in the service of the Lord. There is no personal sense gratification. So in those Vaikuntha planets, there are many forests which are very auspicious. In those forests, the trees are desire trees. And in all the seasons, they are filled with flowers, fruits, because everything in the Vaikuntha planet are spiritual and personal. There is no any dead matter in the spiritual world. Everything is living, is personal. In the Vaikuntha planet, the inhabitants fly in their aeroplanes, accompanied by their wives and consorts, and eternally sing of the character and activities of the Lord, which are always devoid of all inauspicious qualities. While singing the glories of the Lord, they deride even the presence of the blossom Madhavi flowers, which are fragrant and laden with the honey. So, in the spiritual world, the residents of the spiritual world engage in the glorifying the Lord. Whatever other, generally in this material world, okay, something is very opulence, will be attracted to those things. Something is attractive, to be attracted to those things. But in the spiritual, they even here say the presence of blossoming Madhavi flowers, and which have the very good fragrance, but they are not attracted to those things. There is no any personal sense gratification. Everyone is engaged in the glorification of Lord, and that is the mentality of every resident of the spiritual world. And exact opposite to the material world. In the material world, everyone is attracted for his own sense gratification and engage in their own glorification instead of glorifying the Lord. So when someone is glorifying the Supreme Lord, all the others are engaged in hearing the glorification of the Supreme Lord. Here Brahma is giving the comparison. Even the lowest creation, in this material there is some lower and higher creations, creatures are there. Something is superior, inferior. In the spiritual world, there is no superior and inferior. Compared to the material world, okay, say something the inferior is glorifying someone, then superior will not take care for that. But in the spiritual, even the inferior, so-called inferior in the material world, in the spiritual world is glorifying, even the superior people will listen to those glorification. And this is way so much give the joy to them. So here, although flowering plants like Mandara, Kunda, Kurabaka, Utpala, Champaka, Arana, all these kind of different flowers are full of transcendental fragrances. They are still conscious of the austerities performed by the tulsi. So, normally flower is more fragrance than the tulsi. And they glory, and they even the here say the fragrance is still conscious of the austerity of tulsi. For tulsi is given the special preference by the Lord, whose garland himself with the tulsi leaves. So here Brahma is explaining different kinds of opulence in the spiritual world. Such opulence in the material world you are not able to see. After explaining all these things, Brahma is lamenting. So here Brahma say, it is very much regrettable that unfortunate people do not discuss the description of the Vaikuntha planet, but engage in the topics which were unworthy to hear and which bewilders one's intelligence. Those who give up the topics of Vaikuntha and take to talk of the material world are thrown into the darkest region of ignorance. So, and this is all the glorification of Supreme Lord and the spiritual world. Everyone is attracted to that. So, Brahma is telling, in this material world, no one is interested in all discussing all these topics, because they don't talk all these kind of topics. That's the reason they degrade on the noble planets. So, Lord Brahma is telling the Devatas, my dear demigods, the human form of life is much importance that we also desire to have such life. For in the human form, one can attain the perfect religious truth and knowledge. If one is in this human form of life, does not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his abode, it is to be understood that he is very much affected by the influence of external nature. So, the Prabhupada is speaking here in the purport, this material world is created by the Mahamaya. So, the influence of that external nature is ignorant of the highest level of living style in the Vaikuntha planet. And people are ignorant of that. They don't properly practice the religion. And the real religious truth is unknown to those people. That's the reason they remain in this material world. So, and who properly practice religion or bhakti, and one is perfect, and Brahma say, persons whose bodily features changes in ecstasy, and whose breathe heavily, and perspire due to hearing the glories of the Lord, are promoted to the kingdom of God. So, here Brahma is telling what the qualification to enter the spiritual world. So, here Brahma say, someone is understanding the Supreme Lord's glorification and practice the religion properly. Such a person, body changes in ecstasy, bodily features changes in ecstasy, and who breathe heavily, and perspiration, and the air stands in N, and such a person is eligible to go to the Lord's abode. That means one is perfect, it is devotion service to the highest level, such person is eligible to go to the spiritual world. So, even though they do not care for meditation or other austerities, the kingdom of God is above the material universe, and it is desired by the Brahma and other demigods. So, such a opulent kingdom, even Brahma and Devatar, they also desire to go to that planet. So, the difference between material world and the spiritual world, and the spiritual world, everything is very opulent, and every activity in the spiritual world is centered around the Supreme Lord. So when a devotee is practicing the devotion service, and once he come to the level of give up his own sense gratification, self-glorification, and completely engage in the glorification of Lord, and chanting His holy name, and such person able to experience the spiritual world ecstasy in this material. That's what Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is undergo a high level of devotional ecstasy. And that is the same thing Brahma is explaining here. Once bodily features are changes, and perspiration, and body vibrating, and the hair stands in an end. Same experience the four sages are experiencing. Even though they are not able to understand what the Lord wants to do, but because of that joy, their bodily hairs also standing, and the four Brahmanas were nevertheless extremely delighted and behold him, and they experienced thrill throughout their bodies, and they then spoke as follows. So, when a devotee, by just glorifying and just reading the Bhagavatam, so Brahma also telling, and whatever the Lord glorify the sages is like Vedic hymns. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the words of the Lord. So someone properly study the Bhagavata and follow the instruction what is given by in the Bhagavatam, such person is fully engaged in the devotion service, and one chant the holy name of the Lord, one day is purified and eligible to go to the spiritual world. So, that experience, what the sages are experiencing. So, one may think now just chanting and reading the Bhagavatam, is it possible to go to Godhead? So Acharyas are confirmed, and the Bhagavata is also confirmed, where Lord Himself is glorifying His devotees. Because my devotees are so great, because they worshipping my lotus feet. That's the reason. My lotus feet are glorified everyone, and they are taking the shelter, because that is purified because of that. My pure devotees are worshipping my lotus feet. So, in one sense, we can understand a devotee or purified pure devotee, is qualitatively almost as good. The Lord able to purify, so devotee also purify the other. So one who takes the shelter of the pure devotee of the Lord, for such devotee, it is possible for to go to the back to Godhead. And that's what Lord is telling. Because devotees are glorifying and worshipping my lotus feet, that is the reason my lotus feet is pure. The Ganges, which is flows from my lotus feet, and yogis, everyone take bath in the Ganges and purify themselves. This is all the description the Lord has explained in the in earlier chapter. In this chapter only. So we understand that the qualification of a pure devotee is sufficient for any devotee to take shelter and eligible to go back to Godhead. So one place, some Prabhupada is asked by some devotee, Prabhupada, we don't know much about Krishna, the glorification of Krishna. We not did read lot many shastra, but we know that your glorification. For example, at the time of death, for if you chant, if you remember you, are we able to go back to Godhead? Prabhupada say yes. So this is the glorification of a pure devotee. One properly do the service according to the Acharya's instruction with very sincerity, and he will be eligible to go back to Godhead. Some places Prabhupada also say, when his pure devotees recommend someone, and Lord never deny. Like particularly give the example, like when Radharani recommend someone, and Krishna never denied. Similarly, a pure devotee recommends someone. That is the reason Prabhupada says someone chant 16 rounds, follow 4 great principles, under the guidance of the superior authority. You perform the devotion service, at the end of the life, he will go back to Godhead. So now the question comes: are we eligible? No, because we are serving the pure devotee, so we will get the eligibility to go to the Supreme God. So here the Supreme Lord Himself is glorifying His devotees very much. So we should understand, taking shelter of a pure devotee is great, good fortune for all of us, and serving in His guidance. So we should do the devotion service under His guidance with full whatever capacity we are able to do it, and Prabhupada will be very happy. So once a pure devotee is satisfied, then automatically the Supreme Lord also satisfied. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada yasya aprasada nagati kutopi. So once a pure devotee is satisfied, and Supreme Lord also satisfied. So this is the great opportunity for us to serve the pure devotee Prabhupada. And Prabhupada asked a simple services to how this movement we can expand more and more, where our effort is more important, with full capacity, whatever able to do services we do. Simply engage 24 hours under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada. Doesn't matter, we no need to use any logic, okay, we'll go or not. Ultimately, Prabhupada say, wherever we'll get the opportunities for the Lord, even hell or heaven, for the devotees, all right. Devotee don't desire, okay, I should go to the Vaikuntha planet and serve the Supreme Lord. Wherever there is opportunity to glorify or serve the Supreme Lord, that is, one devotee should be happy with that. So engage in complete service of the Lord under the guidance of the Acharyas and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. It is possible that one day will perfect our devotional services. I'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.